single decision you make. So, John, I have a question for you. How important is decision making for police officers? Everything you do. So, I want you to just take a minute in your workbooks, and I just want you to write down, just so you think about it with me, 10 specific things your brain does. And I'll give you like a minute or two to do that. Okay, so who wrote down something unique when you're just thinking about what your brain does? Raise your hand. I know this is my challenge when we're doing this with police officers. Yes?
Controls body temperature.
I'm sorry?
Controls body temperature.
Controls body temperature. Absolutely does that. What else?
Autonomic nervous system.
Your autonomic nervous system, which is how you react to stress and how you recover from stress. So if your brain's not healthy, you're going to have stress dysregulation issues. What else?
Control your breathing.
I'm sorry?
Control the breathing.
Controls your breathing. What else?
Perception.
Perception. And when your emotional brain works too hard, you tend to go to the negative too quickly. And we're going to actually talk about how important it is to go to the negative if you're a police officer or a firefighter, but how to recover from that as well. Have you guys heard of the ACE test? Adverse childhood experiences. So the higher the number, the more likely you are to see negativity in whatever situation you're in. My wife on the scale, so the ACE test from 0 to 10, and my wife has a score of 8, and the two nieces we just adopted have scores of 9. Now, our daughter's score is 1, so that's good. That's what you want, right? Change generational trauma. And mine's a 1, even though my dad was hard for me. I basically did not grow up in trauma. But that matters. All right. Your brain does everything. I mean, on this list, fight with my wife, manages my sex life, manages my money, manages my relationship with my teenager who just lied to me. Your brain does all of that. And if your brain is healthy, those things tend to work. And if your brain is not healthy, those things, relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, spiritual health, tend to not be as good as they can be. So think about this with me. Your brain controls everything. Relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, spiritual health. And when your brain is healthy, those things are easier. And when your brain is not healthy, for whatever reason, there's trouble. So, when your brain is healthier, people are happier. We just finished Happiness Challenge. You can still sign up. It's free. 30-day happinesschallenge.com. So 30-day happinesschallenge.com. At the end of 30 days, people are 20% happier who stay with us. It's pretty cool. But with a healthy brain, you're happier. You're physically healthier. Why? You make better decisions. You're wealthier because you make better decisions. And you're more successful. I had the fun opportunity. We scanned Tony Robbins, the self-help guru, and he came to the clinic and he was having memory problems because he was eating too much swordfish. Swordfish not good for you because it's loaded with heavy metals. Bigger the fish, more heavy metals in the fish. And we talked about how his work is really the software of success, and my work is the hardware of success. You got to get your brain right. And then it's easy to do the things he teaches, which are brilliant. With an unhealthy brain, people are sadder, sicker, poorer. Their decisions aren't as good, so they're less successful. So this is sort of the take-home slide for the day. You want a happier life. You want better relationships. You want more money. You want to be more effective at work so you can be promoted. Brain first. Another exercise. I'm not going to burden you with a lot of exercises today, but there'll be some. And I'm not going to ask you to show this. But I want you to just write down 5 areas of your life that are going well, and 5 areas of your life that could be better. So, take a couple of minutes to do that. Okay. It's one of my favorite slides. When you just think about the brain, it's so interesting. It has 100 billion nerve cells. It's really hard to imagine. But each cell is connected to other cells by up to 10,000 individual connections between cells. You actually have more connections in your brain than there are stars in the universe. And even though your brain's only 2% of your body's weight, think about this, 20 to 30% of the calories you consume. So this means diet really does matter. And for lunch today, we really thought about it. It's from my wife's cookbook, the Brain Warrior's Way cookbook. It's good for you. Well, because that way you'll be able to pay attention this afternoon. And when you just think of school lunches, do you think there's any connection between the poor quality food we feed children and their inability to concentrate? It's a fascinating study from Holland where they took children and put them on an elimination diet, which basically meant they eliminated all the bad food from their diet. These are children who were diagnosed with ADHD. 72% of them lost their ADHD symptoms. I think that's really important. 20% of the blood flow, which is why sleep and exercise are so important. It's the most expensive real estate in your body. I guess think of it like Pelican Hill around here. And your brain has the storage capacity of 6 million years of the Wall Street Journal. Your brain is also soft, about the consistency of soft butter. And look at the inside of the skull. Do you see the sharp bony ridges? This is why you don't have to hit your head in order to have a bad brain injury. That a whiplash injury, your brain is not anchored in your skull, it floats in water. And that's why those helmet-to-helmet hits or whiplash injury where you never hit your head, your brain sloshes back and forth in your skull and is easily damaged. And what a lot of people don't know is undiagnosed brain injuries are a major cause of homelessness. It's actually a study out of Toronto. 58% of the homeless men, 42% of the homeless women had a significant brain injury before they were homeless. It's associated with drug and alcohol abuse. I did a study at Sierra Tucson, the largest drug treatment hospitals in the country. 44% of the new admissions to that hospital had a significant brain injury before their admission. Depression, panic attacks, ADHD, and suicide. That's why when Junior Seau killed himself, I mean, it's so clear to me. Traumatic brain injury probably was involved, or this thing we call CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So, two of my patients, the one on the left is a 15-year-old boy who failed 3 residential treatment programs. So when you're thinking about people whose behavior is so bad, they can't be at home, then I end up in residential treatment or prison. Traumatic brain injury is just a huge part of that. The one on the right was a middle linebacker from UC Berkeley who'd been arrested for domestic violence. You can just see the whole right side of his brain was damaged. So the question is, have you ever had a brain injury? And a lot of times people come to us and they go, no, but we see evidence of it on their scan, and so we go, are you sure? Have you ever fallen out of a tree, off a fence, dove into a shallow pool? Have you ever been in a car accident? Have you ever have a concussion? Playing sports? And my guess in this group is a whole bunch of brain injuries. Because, if you think of the car chases you've been in, you think of things that might have fallen on you. Many of you played sports, contact sports. but it just means you should do something about it. Like what I told you, 80% of my players on supplements and lifestyle changes had better brains in as little as 2 months. Principle number 5, this is so simple. I spend my time when I write, it's like, how can I say this so a second grader really understands it? Brain health is 3 things. Brain envy, got to care about it. Avoid things that hurt it. Do things that help it. When Chloe, my daughter, was at Newport Coast Elementary, I went to her 2nd grade class and I taught them about brain health. And I put 20 things up on the board and I said, you tell me which are good for your brain and which are bad for your brain. They got 19 right. They only missed 1. It was orange juice, which I saw over there. They put it in the good category, which is not in the good category. It's in the bad category. Why? Why is fruit juice in the bad category?
Sugar.
It's got too much sugar. And whenever you unwrap sugar from its fiber source, it actually turns toxic in your body, which is why I'm not a fan of juice. Celery juice, awesome, not fruit juice. There's a great YouTube video on this. You will never drink fruit juice again, I promise you. It's called Sugar, the Bitter Truth. And it's about how fruit sugar actually damages your liver. And he goes through the science, but in a way that's really easy to understand. And Robert Lustig is a pediatric endocrinologist from UC San Francisco. It's really interesting. It's the only thing they miss. So most of them, we know what's good for us and what's bad for us. But the real weapons of mass destruction, I often say ISIS has nothing on our food industry. They're highly processed, pesticide sprayed, high glycemic, low fiber, food-like substances stored in plastic containers. Right? I just want you to be more thoughtful. And if I was a police chief, I would just go, are we spending money on food that serves the mission or food that actually hurts the mission? And it's tricky, right? You don't want to tell people what to eat because that could, breed bitterness. But at the same time, you want to give them healthy options. So brain envy we talked about. Avoid things. After a break, we're going to go through these in pretty good detail. Because I've come to learn if you want to keep your brain healthy or rescue it if it's headed for the dark place, you have to prevent or treat the 11 major risk factors that steal your mind. So you want to avoid anything that decreases blood flow, anything that ages your brain, like charred meat tends to age the brain. Anything that increases inflammation. You want to know your genetic vulnerability. Genes are not a death sentence, but they should be a wake-up call. In my family, for example, there's heart disease and obesity. I'm not overweight. I don't have heart disease. But I'm vulnerable to them. I mean, I really need to pay attention or I could end up like, I have a brother who's... So we'll talk about these and then do things that help. So what we're doing today helps. It's new learning.